Greetings readers and readettes. I'm sorry. Even I admit this is a kind of tenuous Monday video. Still, putting that aside, this is entirely a celebratory video. It is my 50th video. I have been making videos on YouTube, predominantly about books, for the time it takes to create 50 videos, which, if you miss your schedule, is longer than you would think. I want to thank you all so much, all of you who subscribe to me and watch my videos. It really means a lot. Anyway, to celebrate, I thought I'd share with you something quite interesting. This is a book, in a sense, but it's not a published book. It will never be a published book. It is something I am writing. If you're a nerdfighter, you might be familiar with the Evil Baby Orphanage. It's a concept created through Nerdfighteria, through John and Hank, and through their dilemma of what to do with baby Hitler. The Evil Baby Orphanage does sound like a pretty good solution to that problem. As soon as I heard about it, my brain started churning and I started thinking about the kind of people who'd be here and how they'd be treated and how they would live. I had characters form in my head, characters who worked for the Evil Baby Orphanage, people who were evil, and they obviously questioning that fact. Am I evil? Am I evil if I grow up in a different place, in a different society? Is there something inherently wrong with the way my brain works? Was it just that I was in the wrong place at the wrong time? The story I've written is that. It's obviously not my original idea. The Evil Baby Orphanage wasn't even John and Hank's original idea. It was the combination of conversations, the combination of Nerdfighteria coming together and all suggesting different ideas. So this is my version of the Evil Baby Orphanage, or at least the first 3 pages of my version. I do not know my name, but they call me Hayley. I often wonder what my name might be. Sometimes I think it might be Juliet, other times Hilda. Mark says I look like a Hilda, but then he also says he's sure we live in Tuscany, and I'm sure that can't be right. I read a book once where they lived in Tuscany. They didn't mention llamas once. We live in the country with the llamas, whichever country that might be, and if it has a name, they're careful not to mention it in front of us. I think we're a landlocked country, for I've never seen any sea, but then I haven't seen much of anything really, just the llamas and the hills, and the good men bringing in the babies. It was the end of a week today, and I'd kept my nose clean long enough to accompany some of the brothers and sisters into the village. Me and another girl called Magdalena. We walked behind them at a respectful distance. We were not to eavesdrop on their conversations. Not that we would have been able to understand them even if we did. Whatever language it was they spoke in the village, it was not the language they spoke with us. It was a part of the way they kept us. For all we knew, the language that was spoken up at the orphanage, that was taught us by our tutors, and that was written in all the books in our library, was spoken nowhere else in the world. Maybe it was a dead language, or maybe it was made up for us specially. Maybe it was French, or Vietnamese, or Afrikaans. Or maybe this language that the shopkeepers spoke around us, as we kept our eyes lowered and our ears shut. Maybe that was Afrikaans, and I would never even know it. I could have spoken to Magdalena if I'd been so inclined. She spoke unknown Orphanese just the same as me, but we weren't close. She'd always been quiet and withdrawn, but 2 years ago, when we'd been moving up from the 3rd stage to the 4th, she'd gone nuts and tried to set fire to one of the nurseries. She'd been locked away for a long time after that, and when she'd come out, still quiet and withdrawn as ever, everyone had stayed clear of her. Not for fear that she'd do something crazy again. No, she seemed harmless enough, hiding behind her long curtain of hair, glaring at us with eyes that always seemed about to leak. No, we stayed away from her, not for fear of her really, but for fear of ourselves. For fear that she might incite something in us that would want to do something crazy with her. But it didn't matter too much that it wasn't Mark or Razzo or someone else I could have chatted with walking next to me. I had more than enough to keep me occupied. I was feasting, drinking, gulping with my eyes. There were so many more reds up here than at the orphanage. In fact, the orphanage did its best to steer clear of oranges and yellows as well. Also bright purples, like the banners that flew from the sweet-smelling bakery across the street. We had some purple, and in fact some yellow as well, but they were all muted, pastel shades. Colours that would supposedly bring happiness and calm. I sometimes wondered if they'd originally been painted in dull, almost greys, or if the paint and the bricks and the wallpaper had just been there so many years now that the colour had almost all leaked out of them. At least we had blue and green, I guess. The sisters and the brothers encouraged us to go outside. Spending time outside made us better people, apparently. So although we lacked the pink candy stripes and the fitted maroon taffeta, the glinting gold that enticed from the fountain bottoms and the muted black of shod leather, we would always have the blue and the green. They'd never take away the big blue and the rolling green, no matter how bad we were. Sister Wendy came out of the shop we'd been waiting for her by. We didn't go in ourselves, not ever. With a clucking of speech and a chime of shop bells, she began doling out the parcels of sausage meat wrapped in greaseproof paper. We loaded up our baskets, packing it amongst the jars of lavender honey and the still warm twists of currant bread. She smiled warmly at both of us and told us that we could help her cook a bouillabaisse tonight if we liked. Neither of us answered. Magdalena was staring down at the ground. She hadn't even looked up as the sister had passed her provisions. She simply stood there, meekly, jostled slightly by the sister as she herself slipped the food into her basket. She followed where they went. She carried what she was given, but for all she said, and smelled, and saw, she might as well have just been a pole on wheels to which I could have tied her basket. Hayley? Huh? She dragged me out of my reverie. I'd been staring across the street at the shop on the corner. Great gilded cornices were moulded round its signage, shaped like a crown, and banners of red and gold flapped with the utmost fervour from its corner post. I could not read its name, nor the writing on the board in its window, but there was no language my nose could not understand. The rich syrups and the crisping sugar had mesmerised me. I stared in awe as a mother in dungarees and a pair of twin boys, slowly, their pace was dictated by the toddler's chubby legs, descended from the shop, 2 steps at a time. The littlest boy's eyes never left the biscuit cone clutched in his left hand. It was laden high with glistening red fruit, frothed with cream. My eyes had been similarly magnetised. "I'm sorry, Sister Wendy. What was it you said?" I managed, still watching the boys licking their fingers and getting cream on their noses. "I was wondering if you'd like to help me in the orphanage kitchens tonight, Hayley." She said this again with the same dripping pleasantness, as if I hadn't just been caught ignoring her a moment before. She was good, Sister Wendy. Very good. I cast a quick glance back at the magnificent curls of gold and red, the frosted glass and the vague toss of the hanging board from the door. I answered in the sweetest voice I could manage. "I would love to, Sister Wendy." So that is the opening chapter of my version of the Evil Baby Orphanage. If you liked it, I might read you more later. I would love so much to hear what you think in the comments down below. Anyway, before I go, let me quickly announce the winner of my latest giveaway, who, if you've been watching my videos carefully, is going to win a signed copy of Switched by Amanda Hocking. Winner is Lyra Bellaqua 222. And apparently they would love to win, so I'm very glad you did. Anyway, happy reading. I will hopefully be a lot less late for my next video. Bye guys, bye!